So our fourth group, they didn't actually change their name. It's still Opportunity Hubs. And I'm excited about that. You know, all these months working with these names and to have them change them on me, it's just confusing. So tonight, we're going to have two presenters with Opportunity Hubs, Jay Reedy and Perry Gunn. Opportunity Hubs want to take a fresh look at utilizing vacant properties in distressed communities to catalyze economic development, neighborhood revitalization, and engagement. Jay, Perry, you guys ready to go? All right. Good to see you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Perry Gunn. I'm the Executive Director of Teamwork Inglewood.
And hey, everybody, I'm Jay Reddy. I'm the Executive Director of the Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law.
We are both excited to be here this evening. We have a wonderful, wonderful idea we'd like to share. First, let me ask you all a question. Have you ever been presented with an opportunity that you were not sure whether it was real or not? For example, an opportunity to win a brand new car, $1,000, or even a free vacation. Well, tonight, we have an opportunity that we believe is not only real, but viable to the community of Chicago. Take a look at this picture here. This is a picture of a vibrant and thriving community. Look at the jobs in this community. Thousands of jobs are present in this community. There are 250 retailers. In fact, this is the second busiest commercial district in the city of Chicago. There's also a low crime rate. This is Inglewood in 1960. Take a look at this picture. Here's another community. There are vacancies in the commercial and the residential area. It also has a reputation for high crime and high violence. There's more than 35% unemployment, and 40% of the people are living below the line of poverty. But what can we do as a community to fix a community like this? We have an idea. Take a look at this vacant firehouse. It's a beautiful building. It's an asset in the Inglewood community. We believe it can be used to serve important community needs. And so here's what we're proposing. We believe this firehouse can become an economic engine to create new jobs and economic opportunity. And what else can it do, Jay?
Thanks, Perry. So here's how we want to build out a broader concept from the opportunity hub that we can pilot at the Englewood Firehouse. First of all, Opportunity Hubs means co-working space for entrepreneurs. So think about 1871, moving from the merchandise mart out to the neighborhoods where the innovation and the jobs are most needed. Think about a commercial kitchen where growing food businesses can be incubated. Innovation hubs mean coding and digital access for young people. Let's teach digital skills, create the access, and accelerate technology in our neighborhoods. Opportunity hubs mean flexible community space for events, receptions, and community gatherings and meetings for people to come together. Why do opportunities hubs mean success? 3 reasons. First, economic activity is centered around transit. So here's the Green Line stop at 63rd and Halsted. Surrounding it, we've got $100 million of recent investment at Kennedy King College. We've got a $30 million facility being built by St. Bernard Hospital. And across the street from our firehouse, we have a Whole Foods anchoring a retail development, anchoring an establishment. Second reason why we will succeed is that our plan is aligned with all of the major plans for economic growth for Chicago and its greater region. So the star in the upper left-hand corner represents World Business Chicago's plan for economic growth and jobs. And we align with several of the strategies in that plan, especially including allowing young people to engage with technology acceleration and business entrepreneurship. The third reason then is the team that we've assembled. You saw it on the first slide. We've got an incredible group that has unprecedented focus on how neighborhoods revitalize. What would the impact of a successful opportunity hub look like? 2 things. 1, on the left, you see jobs increasing, jobs and employment access. And on the right, you see a healthy, vibrant neighborhood with people meeting each other out in public and on the streets. Finally, this is a scalable idea, right, for two reasons. One, there are spaces all over the city that fit with the idea of opportunity hubs. We're talking about closed schools, vacant commercial spaces, underutilized institutional buildings, and foreclosed churches. And then secondly, a city, our city, this city, cannot thrive if neighborhoods are suffering. And so what you see here is a map of what HUD calls racially concentrated areas of poverty. And you see how much of the south side and the west side of Chicago are locked out of the economic mainstream. So we've got a pitch for you. Here's our call to action. We have a $2.1 million startup budget, $1.5 million for renovations, $550,000 for cash flow for initial operations, and only $50,000 that you can help with small dollar donations for a plan for the community and business planning to get this idea off the ground. So please, get invested and join us. Find your opportunity. Thank you.
Great job. Make room for your colleagues. So I know you guys are going to have a lot of ideas for them. A lot of input, so I'll let you go.
First, you
big
got to
team.
ask the mayor for the firehouse.
Yeah.
So, because the city owns that, right? So if you haven't done that, go to the alderman and go get that firehouse. But yeah, go in together because they're powerful. And I think, I think you have to describe what happens, what that feels like inside that opportunity center. You did a great job of telling the impact. What does that feel like for the user, the person coming in that needs the help? What is that going to mean to them? Because I get what it means to the community overall, but how, the clients that you're bringing in there, and what's this engine really going to spin off? And Inglewood, I think you chose the right place, and for a lot of obvious reasons, but because there is a lot of focus on it. I think one of the things this hub could potentially do is be the place that brings focus to all these different things. It's clear what Whole Foods brings. It brings jobs, it brings fresh food, all these different things that are gonna start happening there. And I hear a plan every week about something that's gonna happen, and it could happen in a way that's not driven by the community. So to me, this needs to be the place where the community gathers to drive the plan for their neighborhood. And that, what that means to connecting other community residents that feel the same way. Because, sometimes when people are thinking they're being helpful, the language they use about the neighborhood is about getting people out of the neighborhood. That's not what the neighborhood wants. So I think, to me, telling the story in that way, that it brings ownership and control over what can happen, a voice. Because as soon as money starts flowing in, you're at the table, but it's like, are they hearing me? Are they hearing me? So the type of jobs, the type of training, how people are hired, that's my only advice. But otherwise, it's a great idea because there needs to be this kind of healthy sign and healthy place. And you've created that idea.
I would, first of all, compliment you on kind of the courage and the ambition of your idea. It's clear you've chosen a place that, in some respects, at first blush, with the side-by-side photos, really makes the point. And you've also chosen very astutely because there's a momentum building in the particular location you've chosen. The $1.5 million towards property purchase and renovations is, frankly, I think, going to be a hard sell. Bricks and mortars investments are hard to sell, but I'm not saying you can't do it. It's going to be something you have to really build out that part of your ask in a real way. The other thing is that using corollaries like 1871, I immediately know what you mean when you say 1871, having been there and the idea of the co-working space. But one thing about 1871, I know what it is because I know it's all tech heads over there coding and trying to build the networking they need to be successful. I don't quite hear that in what you've described here, and you may need to bring a little more focus to what parts of the community center, the idea of community center, huge valuable asset, But when you try to say it's like 1871, I don't
Yeah,
really
and-
see
Yeah,
that.
you said that
part of it.
better than I did, because that's where I got a little bit lost in it.
Right. And so the other thing is that the other idea that is really big here is the citywide scaling. I think that's your next step. I don't think that that's where you are right now. You might begin by looking at this Englewood location and choose one other that you could take what you learn and think about legging over into a second generation. But I think you're a ways away from citywide scaling, and in building your ask, I'm not sure I would build that in just yet. I would prove concept first before. Scalability is huge, and scalability invites contributions. But given the initial upfront cost of what you're trying to do here, scalability is going to be scary to some of your donors, I think.
I just want to follow up on one thing. You should get that building for $1 when your plan is ready to go. The city gives them to restaurants. They should give it to the community, and they will, with the plan being right. You probably already have looked at Resurrection in Pilsen and what Resurrection has meant to that community. To me, that is a better example. And, it's going to be different than Resurrection because it's going to be this community's version of that. But that started with, one building, an idea, and now it's really transformed a big amount of that neighborhood. And so.
I know you guys mentioned 1871, and we all know Howard Tolman and Kevin Wheeler prior to that. But are you familiar with Blue 1647 and Emil
I think
Cambry?
Emil is in the house. He was our invitee.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome.
Emil
That's great.
Cambry.
That's great.
Special guest.
Yeah,
There he is.
There he is.
Thanks for coming,
So,
Emil.
I'm wondering, Emil has gained some traction in this very seminal model, and I'm not sure, obviously without looking at the proposal, how deep you go into a very similar strategy. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to take all the passion that this group has begun and partner up with Emil and take those resources to kind of further along. It doesn't seem that there are a shortage of people that want to accomplish the similar goal, and I'm just wondering if there's opportunity to collaborate as opposed to build another organization that solves a very similar problem.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I have a build on that as well. I think your logic model, we already had to work a little bit more on the model because you're starting at fixing the community, which is a great vision, and then you're going into job increasing, but most of those jobs, if they're high tech, are probably going, the training will happen in the community, but they're probably leaving, and then you go to healthier communities in the community center. So I think you need to, the logic model, work a little bit more, and to help with that, a lot of it, what you did, is what libraries do today. So I'm wondering if you can start perhaps adding additional services in the library in Englewood. It's a beautiful new building. And start out and playing around with your model and really understand what catches on and what doesn't, so that you build your evidence to ask for 2.1 million.
Yeah, and I was going to say almost something very similar on the 1871 front, and similar. I mean, people often say, "Oh, we're going to build the next Silicon Valley in the Midwest." I'm like, "No, we're going to build the Chicago thing," And I think you guys are building the Englewood thing, and I think this point about well, what is Englewood, and how do you create that scene, the new version of that scene that you juxtaposed for us? And it's actually not necessarily high-tech jobs. That job training can be an initiative, but I feel like it's also the restaurants, the barber shops,
Yeah, for sure.
the movie theater, whatever it is that fills up traffic on the street. And I think it would be cool to think about an incubator type thing like 1871 is, but I liked the idea of you mentioned a commercial kitchen, actually think about, instead of designing the next Google, you're designing the next successful restaurant, the next successful thing that actually creates traffic on the street. That could be a really cool model that could be replicated. The other thing would be, and you probably already thought of this too, is how to tap into CRA funding, because there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of money to spend, and there's just still a disconnect between sort of the deal flow and the opportunities to make an impact with that money in the community versus what's there. But you guys obviously have pulled together an amazing array of partners already, amazing commitment at a high level. So I feel really excited about what's possible, and I think what was likely to happen. And I look forward to seeing it.